Hi there, Vermilion here, posting from Nha Trang in Vietnam, Southeast Asia. Just going to put some sunblock on before I head out for the day. But I thought it was appropriate to post, and I know it's been forever, yeah, I've been running into small difficulties along the way to do with my some of the issues that I have falling on the spectrum. As you know, I have high functioning autism, or what was known as Asperger's syndrome. I'm currently traveling alone because I don't like tour groups. I am very introverted, and I don't like having to think about another person on top of what I'm doing already, and also it eliminates the possibility of me having to get into conversation all day. So yeah, that's why I'm traveling alone. I'd like to say that I've pushed past a lot of my social anxiety over the years. Like, I'm 31 now, so a lot of that anxiety has, well, it's not that it's subsided, but I know much more now what to do in social situations. So I run through the scripts, I know what I'm doing, so I'm much more comfortable, but I still do get very exhausted after being with someone for a certain amount of time. So hence traveling alone. So that's perfect for me, and it's also troubleshooting, and it's worked out very well that I travel this way. The second issue which I'm working on, which is one of my major issues in life anyway, is my sensitivity to sound. Of course, different countries are going to be different, so it's like a mix of accepting cultures for how they are and knowing when you have the right to have quiet time. I've been staying in pretty cheap hostels in my own room. I can't share dorm rooms, there's no way, because of my sound issues, which a lot of the time I pre-worry about sound as well. So having my own room eliminates that to a certain degree. Obviously, life is chaotic, and there's unforeseen circumstances, and unpredictable, I guess, noise levels at different places. It's basically a game of chance. For most of my journey, I've had it pretty good. This current spot I'm in is really bad. When I booked in at the hostel, the guy was like, yeah, it's quiet, we're in an alleyway, so you'll be fine. And I honestly think I may as well have a club next door to me, but it's just a place that washes clothes. So luckily I haven't had it this bad in the last 2 weeks of being away. The only time it was a bit of an issue is when I first arrived in Cambodia. There was a Buddhist temple right next to me, and there was a funeral that went for 2 days. So there was chanting through this really tinny microphone right next to my window all day. And yeah, I dealt with that pretty good. I just asked the hotel staff, is that going to stop? And I feel like a jerk because it was like a funeral. I didn't know that, but fuck. A lot of the sensation I deal with internally to do with this sound issue is guilt, because I don't like telling people to do things. I would rather remain inconspicuous and definitely not have any focus of attention on myself. So when I have to ask and inquire and blah, 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 it's very uncomfortable for me, because then people are running around for me and like doing things to me, and I really hate that. I'd rather just remain completely anonymous and stay my couple of nights and then leave. But yeah, the way that I've dealt with most issues that have arisen in my life that I relate to being on the spectrum have been coming up with processes. So it's less stress. It's like, oh, this situation is happening. My anxiety is like through the roof. How do I change the situation to resolve this with as little thinking power and as little stress as possible? So I think today, because there's no way that I'm going to put up with this sound for another day, like I could have stayed another night here, but I can't. I went downstairs and asked if I could shift rooms because I am in an acoustically really bad spot. I think I'm probably the worst room in the hotel because I have huge glass windows. It's in a cove that's catching all the noise from across the street. So I could move a room back or a floor up and a room back, that sort of thing. But when I went down to speak to the woman, she seemed a bit like they may not have other rooms. So with that option now gone, which is talking to the staff about shifting rooms, this is like the process that I'm slowly developing. I know that these hostels are a dime a dozen in Vietnam, so I'm going to now take the chance, the risk, and book another hostel room somewhere else. So if you can see there, the alternative to this process is me completely breaking down in panic and like last night, I bawled my eyes out. I was so upset, and noise makes me go into like complete panic. I can deal with it up to a certain degree, but if I don't know if it's constant, like this music in the background, and I don't know when it will end, that's when I go into like fits of panic. And last night it wasn't good. I was just, I'll try my hardest to ignore it, and I'll put on headphones, I'll listen to music, I'll try and just listen to the music. Maybe it's fine, maybe it's good music and I can deal with it. It's like I go into this weird denial, and then all of a sudden I just like get exhausted and cry. And I think when things bother me like that, because I haven't traveled enough to know this problem, so I haven't come up with a rational, not emotional reaction to it. So I'm developing my rational reaction, which is the steps that I'm slowly coming up with. So the positives are that these rooms are cheap, and I can definitely, my business is welcome at hundreds of hostels through the city, and I know from the traveling that I've done this far that it's probably a 1 in 10 chance that this will happen. So I'm willing to take the risk rather than stay another night or wait around for a room to be ready in this hostel, because I know for certain that this is a noisy street. So I've got that certainty. The uncertainty that I'm working with is whether I can make my situation better by moving. Because all I really want to do is have my hostel room set and head out for the day and probably go for a hike, which sounds amazing. And there's a lot of beautiful hills around here. So I'm very much looking forward to having this situation over and done with, so I can move on to enjoying myself here in beautiful, beautiful Nha Trang. It's an amazing city. So while I've been experiencing anxiety that's close to panic attack for maybe 50% of my time here, due to my hostel situation, the payoff of being in another country and experiencing different things is just, it overrides it for me. But, you know, traveling on the spectrum, having noise sensitivities is not easy. And the problem with having noise sensitivities is that everyone looks at you as if you're really uptight and, you know, you don't appreciate a good time or a different country, or, you know, or that, you know, you're staying in a cheap hostel, so you deal with whatever you get. But, you know, the way I see it is that even with the sound sensitivity and the problems that arise with the side that I see as a disability, I have the, it's not necessarily a right, but, you know, I see this as a disability. So I'm trying to seek accessible places for myself for the same price that everyone else can get it. So, like, you know, just because, you know, effectively my issue with sound is, you know, on par, with having, say, crutches. Just because someone has crutches doesn't mean that they have to pay more for hostels. You know, they should be able to have accessible places too. And yeah, a lot of the attitude that I get is that I'm just ungrateful from Westerners, like, you know, just relax, man. And I've got to remember that they just don't understand the power of this panic that happens to me, and not a lot of people do understand it. So I've got to try and ignore that, and then ignore the guilt that I feel for that kind of attitude. I have a disability. I'm on medication. I've really tried. I exercise. I eat well. I practice mindfulness. I don't drink. You know, I do everything basically that any therapist, any doctor will tell you to do to improve your situation, and it doesn't work. So I feel that I have the right to travel. I have the right to experience the world. I have the right to experience it, not paying a fortune just because I have this problem. So, yeah, I am just going through the steps, and I really hope that this video was a good insight to basically what I've been experiencing daily on my travels. As I said, some places have been fine. Other places I've gone into panic as soon as I arrive. So like with everything else in my life, rather than let it lead me and think, oh, I should have never come away and never come away again, I will experience the world, and I will just put in steps to help myself get through this. So yeah, I feel this is a really important video, actually. We'll see how we go today, but I'm sure that it'll work out, and I'm just keeping that positive attitude. Signing off for Melian. Have a good day.